You ever heard the phrase, the noonday devil? The noonday devil was a phrase that came from the inception of this talking about Acedia, and that was in the monastic time period, Anthony of the Desert, St. John Cassian, and they would go out in the desert and they would have their hermitage or their hut. And the noonday devil is that when the sun is at its height, breakfast is too far away, too far gone, the evening, siesta and dinner is too far away, and you're in this time period, and you just have this inclination for the monk just to climb up from its cell or from its hut and look out the window and see and think, what else is out there for me? What else can I do?
That's what the Desert Fathers and Mothers called Acedia. I mean, I'm supposed to be sitting here in the hut, but I have all these thoughts. They're like, maybe I should go back into the city and serve the poor. But I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be here, but maybe I should go and gather firewood. I'm supposed to be here, but maybe I should go and do something else. And the temptation is, I want to do anything but the one thing I'm supposed to be doing. Is that you right now? This is essentially if you really want to get down to it, this is a microcosm of a midlife crisis. I mean, think about if you're in your midlife, what happens? The eagerness, the excitement, all the anticipation, the hope, the promise of youth is gone. And yet the rest and the fruits and like that ability to kind of enter into a certain kind of like sage stage in your life is not yet here. But I'm right in the middle of this and I just want a different life than the life I have right now. This is the deadly sin so many people come against in their midlife. It's the noonday devil, Acedia. Now, when St. Thomas Aquinas started calling it sloth, what happened was people would say, oh, sloth is kind of a slowness to respond to the things of God, right? So I'm called to pray, and I don't really want to do it. Or I'm called to enter into God's joy of just following after Him, and I kind of don't want to do it. And so we saw it as like laziness, but Acedia is different. It's more precise. It's not laziness. A person could be a workaholic and still have sloth. Procrastination means I'm doing everything except for the one thing I'm supposed to be doing. If that's you, you're struggling with something that virtually every Christian has struggled with, all the way back, actually maybe 300 years after Christ, in the early church.
In the year 300, the monks struggled with this. The Desert Fathers and Mothers struggled with this. Like, I'm supposed to be praying, but I want to do anything but that right now. And in many ways today, we know today is a different ball game. With our phones, with social media, with running around in suburban life from one thing to the other, busy, doing, boom, boom, boom. This plagues our culture. We're riddled with it in our society. It's increasingly so as God continues to move further out of the picture of our daily lives and of what is important. We can use any excuse under the sun to come to Mass. Sports, activities, of doing other things, wanting to do other things than the thing that I should be doing. What's the ultimate aim? It's the worship of God. It's keeping Him first. I can be so easily pulled from that because I'm so used to filling myself here with these other things easy, because today is it's a different ball game than the year 270, than the year 300. It's easy today to have a lack of concern for spiritual things. That's acedia, and it's a deadly sin.
Because a lot of times in the Christian life, that's how we find ourselves. I'm doing all this stuff, I'm praying all these prayers, I'm doing all this activity. The question we have to ask is, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? Because I could stop or pause and just pump the brakes for a second and say, am I doing all this stuff, all this extra activity in lieu of or in place of the one thing I should be doing? At some point in our lives, every one of us gets to a season where we want to bolt, where we want to take off. We just want to run. That's called acedia. What the Desert Fathers and Mothers said in that moment, the remedy for acedia is God's love. I know that might seem simplistic, but it's not. The remedy for acedia is looking at Jesus Christ, who in every step of His life is saying yes to His Father, yes to this moment, yes to dinner with His friends, yes to traveling from this place to that place, yes to this trial. The answer to acedia is looking at Jesus and saying, okay, What held him to the cross, we know this, what held him to the cross was not the nails. What held him to the cross was his love. What is holding your life in place? What's helping you stay in your hut when you want to be doing anything except for the one thing you're supposed to be doing? It's not the nails, it's not bondage, it's love. The answer to Acedia is, how can I love well in this moment, in this place, as Christ loved?
Paul says it right here in the beginning of this reading. He says, all these other things, you can have all these other things and you can do these things, these good things, but if you don't have love, all of it's nothing. You can do all these great things, but if there's not love, forget it. And so he says, let me teach you the more excellent way here, he says in the beginning. And then he goes on to this litany on what love, not just what is as far as adjectives, but what love does. And so how do I avoid this temptation to like pull up from under our hut at the noontime devil when there's all these other things, to look out the window and say, what is there else out there for me to do right now?
Fight against the demon of Acedia. Fight against that temptation to run off and abandon the people that you love the most and you're called to love the most. Fight that temptation to run off and do anything but the one thing you're supposed to be doing. And do it with love. Fight with love.
It happens through a deeper conformity to the person of Jesus Christ. Our hearts are limited. The amount of love that we can give is limited, but his love isn't, because he is love. And so the more our heart is conformed to Jesus Christ, the more we can love. The more we can do love, then our joy can be increased to the extent that we conform our lives to Jesus.